My friends, we're here today to protest the terrible wrongs which have been perpetrated and continue to be perpetrated against the Palestinian people by the Zionist illegitimate regime known as Israel. And all this is taking place in Palestine. My colleagues and I come together under the banner of what is known as Naturi Carta, which is the word Naturi Carta is the name of the opposition philosophy to Zionism held by Orthodox Jews, by authentic Orthodox Jews. You may well ask, how come that we Jews are here protesting in support of Palestinians, who many would think of as enemies of the Jews? The answer, my friends, is that the Palestinian dispute is with the Zionists and not with the Jews. Zionism and Judaism are two completely diametrically opposed ideas. Authentic Orthodox Jews sympathize entirely with the Palestinian cause. Jewish Orthodox teaching is totally opposed to Zionism on grounds of religious belief and on grounds of Jewish religious values of humanitarianism. Our belief, our teaching and belief going back thousands of years teaches us that the Jewish people are and have been for the last 2,000 years or so in a state of divinely decreed exile, an exile decreed by the Almighty. Why? Because sadly, they did not maintain certain high standards expected of them. And so, we've been dispersed around the world for the last 2,000 years. And our duty, as we are taught, is to live as loyal subjects of whichever country we're in. Furthermore, we're forbidden to attempt to form our own regime in Palestine. We can't try and countermand the exile. And we are warned of dire consequences if we do attempt to override this prohibition. And if we do so, it's considered a rebellion against the wishes of the Almighty. So on grounds of religious belief, our teaching is that we have no right today to form a regime in Palestine. The Zionist philosophy, which is formed about 100 years ago, no more than that, by irreligious non-believers, they hold that the Jewish people have to fight their way out of this exile. They don't accept in any way the religious prohibition of this action. And their approach to the whole matter of exile is diametrically opposed to the religious passive approach, religious teaching which is a passive approach. So that is the reason on religious belief grounds that we oppose Zionism. But that's really a matter, more of an internal matter within the Jewish people. But perhaps what is more understandable to the non-Jewish world regarding the opposition of Judaism to Zionism is the fact that the Zionist ideology taught or advocated the taking over of a country with an existing indigenous population and to form a sectarian state, a non-religious state, irrespective of the consequences to the indigenous people living in the land, and depriving that people of their homes and country. Now, this sort of policy, this sort of course of action, was a shocking contravention of humanitarian justice. So what we have to understand is that humanitarian justice is also a tremendously important element in Jewish religious values. And the Zionists have thrown this completely overboard in their nationalistic quest for a state of their own. So, on these grounds too, on the grounds of opposition to the Zionists ignoring humanitarian values, on these grounds too, Orthodox Judaism opposes Zionism entirely. So, because of the above, the whole idea of a Zionist state, our teaching is that it is a flawed concept. And actually, in the light of current events, it is the underlying cause of strife in the Middle East. We can go as far as to say that as Jewish people, we are ashamed of those of our brethren or born Jews who have followed the Zionist path. And we would wish to state quite clearly that Zionists do not in any way represent the Jewish people as they would like to have the world believe. They would like the world to believe that they represent the Jewish people, but they do not. This is a fallacy. Another important element that comes out from all this is that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. Two different concepts. On the contrary, the Zionists themselves cause anti-Jewish feeling by their deeds. So, the general strife which exists between Arab and Jew in Palestine only began when the first Zionist pioneers came to Palestine, when they had the express aim of forming a state over the heads of the indigenous Arab population. And that strife, that confrontation has continued until this very day, and continues, and has cost, and continues to cost, thousands and thousands of lives. My friends, the connection between Arab and Jew, Arab and Palestinian and Jew, goes right back into ancient history. Mostly the relationship was friendly and mutually beneficial. Historically, the situation frequently was that when Jews were being persecuted in Europe, they found refuge in the various Arab countries. So it's quite clear and understandable that our attitude to Arabs can only be one of friendliness and respect. We consider, this is what I want to make clear, we consider the Palestinians as the people with the right, they are the people with the right to govern in Palestine. It constantly amazes me how countries like the United States and the United Kingdom can consider the Zionist regime as a democratic regime, when this is patently not so when it comes to dealing with the Palestinians. How they consider it to be democratic cannot be understood. It could be that these countries consider their support of the Zionist state as a means of solving their consciences for not doing enough to help the Jewish people in the period of the Second World War, Holocaust. Whether they're obliged to solve their consciences or not is not a matter for discussion today. But one thing is certain, and that is that helping the Zionist regime does not help the Jewish people. So we pray, our prayer is for an end to bloodshed and an end to the suffering of all innocent people, Jew and non-Jew alike, worldwide. And I'd like to finish with the following words. We want to tell the world, especially our Arab neighbors, that there's no hatred or animosity between Arab and Jew. We would wish to live together as friends and neighbors, as we have done mostly over hundreds, even thousands of years, in all the Arab countries. It is a fact that it was only the advent of the Zionists and Zionism which upset this age-old relationship. Some of my Jewish brethren accused Naturikata, our group Naturikata, of being treacherous to the Jewish people. But we say, on the contrary, it is we who have the true interests of the Jewish people at heart. The Zionist ideology and its abuse and oppression of the Palestinians is a cause for tragedy for everyone in the Holy Land, Jew and Arab. And true peace will not be achieved, and this is important, true peace will not be achieved until we have the total, but hopefully we pray, peaceful annulment of Zionism and the peaceful dismantling of the Zionist, the illegitimate Zionist regime. Hopefully this would be based on results brought about, which could be brought about by moral, political and economic pressures imposed by the nations of the world, if they would be so inclined. And this would bring about an end to the suffering of the Palestinian people. Our prayer is that we would welcome the opportunity to dwell in peace in the Holy Land under a rule which is entirely in accordance with the wishes and aspirations of the Palestinian people. So, my friends, our final prayer is, may we soon merit the time when all mankind will be at peace with each other and the glory of the Almighty will be revealed over the whole world. Thank you.